Most of the work that I've been doing, extracurricular work that I've been doing at VSA, has been kind of around the student life office and the resources that they have access to. I'm running because I think it would be nice to not be that unofficial member of the VSA exec for once, or that person who just comes to meetings and sits in and has an opinion but isn't really heard. It'd be nice to be able to give students access to the resources that I wish I had when I was a student.
I've been on the Student Life Committee for 2 years now, and there's been a lot of issues that have come through it. I think that this year, the big difference that kind of encouraged me to go for the VP position was that we're finally tackling issues in a thorough methodological way, and we're finally, I think, making real change. And I think that people kind of saw that with the CDRC and the improvements to the DEAS and the alcohol task force and the thorough investigations going on with security and res life throughout the year. So I think that I really feel that it's the time that I can finally come in and set a few big goals and really enact a lot of change.
I know that I've heard consistent dissatisfaction with the relationships that students have with staff, but also with security. And I know that if elected, I definitely want to just reconcile between those three different bodies of the VSA community, and help facilitate just renewed relationships and encourage our students and also our faculty, our staff, and security to just kind of build relationships with students that undo some of the negative images that have been perpetuated.
So I think the first big issue of mine is not safety and security, hopefully done by an outside company. Normally they're done by safety and security administrations from other schools. I think this is important because safety and security is something that students interact a lot with. It's also often kind of the face of the administration. It's a face of power for students. I think that we should have a really positive relationship with safety and security. I think that there should be transparency as to their rules and their regulations and how they act. So that's one thing that I'm going to work on. I think that we need to end all of the bias incidents that are happening. And I think that the best way to address that is to open up conversations between the students and safety and security and make sure that we're putting a face on the issue there. I'd really like to continue the work of the alcohol task force. I think that this year we made a huge jump in gathering a lot of student-specific research, and we're kind of starting to show the administration, look, here are the patterns in our school, not just here's data from other schools that maybe have less to do with Vassar. I think that we now need to take that data, we need to expand on it. We need to look more into the peer situations and how upperclassmen influence underclassmen drinking, and I think that we now need to use that data to shape policies. And that's something that didn't happen for the keg ban, and that's something that isn't always happening, is that you're not always applying the research to the policies that need to happen. And then another big issue of mine is campus climate in general. You hear a lot of complaints about people not being able to get appointments at Metcalf. I think that there's an enormous variability of people's mood and mental state over the years at Vassar, and I think that we can't always address it together as a student body. And I think that's extremely important that we are able to do that, and we're providing the right resources for people to, basically get the help they need at any time. So that's definitely something that I'm going to work on.
I know that some of my concerns that I've had last year are still to some extent the same concerns that I have this year. Haven't really seen a lot of people dedicated to making sure that certain voices are heard.
I've been on the committee, as I said, for 2 years now, under 2 different VPs. I think that what's really going to help me out going to this position and what makes me qualified is that I know how to set a rigorous agenda, and I know how to set goals, and I know how to gather administrative resources, administrators that I've been working for 2 years around these issues and make them pay attention to them. I think to enact the permanent change that we're looking for, not just to hold conversations and let them slip, and not just to tweak policies or, not just one person in a room, making a change, which is not how anyone should be doing things, I think that experience with working with student government, working with student committees, working with administrators, and bringing all of that work to students and drawing from students to make projects a reality is, I think, one of the most important things about this position.
Definitely stay flexible, right? And I will stay in tune with what forms of communication are most appealing to our students. This video idea is a great idea, and I think if there's a way to set up a fun, interactive little, monthly or weekly update with student life and capturing that through video, to have it accessible maybe on the VSA website or the MISC or something, running a weekly interview or update with the elected VP for Student Life. I think that'd be a great way to stay in touch.
I think that the easiest way to stay in contact with the student body is to pull people who aren't necessarily in an elected VSA position and bring them on the committee. Take people who are interested in certain issues like sexual assault and violence prevention, and put them on a subcommittee, that's working with the new SAVP coordinator. Take people who are interested in, ending hazing, on campus, and put them in a subcommittee, and mix your resources, both elected people and non-elected people. I think that's one of the greatest ways to pull in new voices.
One of the biggest jobs I think for anyone who's on exec board is to stay connected to the people who voted for you and the students that you're representing, and that's a really hard job, especially for student life, because so much of your position is being the voice, the student's voice, and bringing that voice to meetings with administrators and faculty and all these groups of important people.
The student life position is one of the largest positions on campus. They sit on probably more committees than anybody else, and the breadth of what they address, basically, from the more ancillary consumer models, like dining or even security, things like that, to the very deep complexities of the problems that affect our campus, campus climate, and things like that. I think that the most difficult part of the position is to stay approachable and to stay proactive about taking on what you can, but also making sure that there aren't issues that are escaping, and you're not making you're not making decisions just because a decision needs to be made.